So today we're gonna talk about Amazon Redshift ETL. So I write the code, basically copied from the lesson 3, exercise 2, exercise 3, and exercise 4. And I basically put them all together to create a whole flow of ETL. And we're gonna start from there. So first we're gonna load all the libraries we need, which you can see. There's time, matplotlib, pandas, bottles3, JSON. And then it's not showing on the code, but we're gonna create a Redshift Amazon account, of course. And we're gonna have our key and access secret and put that information into our config file. And now by using this code, we can load all the parameters into our account. And you're gonna see the value gonna come out with your cluster, with your row name, with everything in there. And the next step, we're gonna create clients for IAM, EC2, S3, and Redshift. And in here you can see the code, and we can run that. And of course, this is gonna use your key and secrets, and always keep them safe. And the next step, we're gonna create the IAM role that makes Redshift able to access the S3 bucket, and of course, it's read only. And I believe this code is from the exercise 2. And after creating this row, we can get our row in here. And next step, we're gonna create clusters. So after we get all the parameters ready, we got our row ready, we're ready to create clusters. And of course, if you create clusters, you run this code again, you're gonna have the cluster already exist. And of course, you can check your cluster on the Redshift website. And the next step, you're gonna describe the cluster status. You always want to run this to make sure it's available. And you might gonna have to wait a little time to let it create. And the next, we're gonna take the nodes from the endpoint and the row. And when people checking their clusters, make sure it's either east or west, because you can see that on the right top corner next to your account. Make sure it's in the right location. And then we're gonna open the TCP port. And on this part, the reason why we're using Python to do all this creating cluster instead of quick launch is because in Python, you're able to open this port. And for a lot of people's computer, you might, most of that time, you have a firewall. And then you're probably going to encounter the problem without opening this port. So this is actually a very important part before you create an ETL, is to open this port by using this code. And next, we're going to make sure you can connect to the cluster by running this code. And it shows it's connected. Now our cluster is ready. But of course, it's an empty cluster, and we're ready to create tables. And creating table, you're using SQL queries to create schema and create table. And of course, this table and columns are empty tables and empty columns. With all this ready, so this part is I use the exercise 4. They create 2 different kinds of table with no distribution and with distribution. So you can compare in the next step to see their performance. And then we have copy the table from other S3 bucket source on Redshift. And it's always the same kind of code. You load tables and you get all your source. And you can also run this code to check if you have already load. And this process can take 10 to 20 minutes. You have to wait all this loaded, and of course making sure it's already done. After your table is done, we're ready to compare the loading performance. And we realize the performance for the with distribution is higher than without distribution. And of course, you can run the compare queries performance in here to get the result. And after all this, we can go to the Redshift website to check if our table are created correctly. And you can also check the table by the query editor. And after you get all done, don't forget to delete your clusters. And this might take a while. And you want to run this code and making sure it's all done. And you can, of course, go back to the website to check if you have a cluster in there so you don't get a big charge. And that's pretty much the whole process for the Amazon ETL. And for conclusion, the 4 main parts you have to do in here is to first create your account, get your key and secret, create clusters. Firstly is an empty cluster, and with all your parameters in there, which has your database name, your username, your password, and then create your tables. And at first, you actually create our empty tables. You just build a schema in there and build a construction. And so in the future, you can insert all your source information into this table. And the last step is to build this ETL. So you copy the S3 resource to the table schema that you built, and then you can get your final tables that you need. And that's everything we had today.